August 17th, 1945. 2 days after Emperor Hirohito's surrender broadcast, the dirt roads of Fangzheng County, northeast China, are lined with bodies. Not soldiers, Japanese civilians, women clutching infants, children crying beside their dead mothers. The Soviet Red Army has cut off the retreat. 10,000 Japanese settlers who colonized this land are now trapped, starving, dying by the thousands. 3-year-old Yohachi Nakajima sits beside his mother's body. He hasn't eaten in 4 days. His stomach is swollen from malnutrition, his lips cracked and bleeding. He's going to die here, another casualty of an empire that promised prosperity and delivered only ash. Then, a shadow falls across him. A Chinese farmer named Sun stands over the Japanese child. Sun's own brother was killed by Japanese soldiers 3 years ago. His village was burned, his neighbors tortured. Every reason in the world to walk past this enemy child and let nature take its course. Every reason except one. The child is 3 years old. Sun picks him up. The boy is so light he weighs almost nothing. And in that moment, something impossible begins. Not just one rescue. 4,000 of them. This is the story history tried to forget. If this moves you, hit subscribe. Drop a comment telling me what you'd do in their place. And buckle up, because what comes next will shatter everything you thought you knew about enemies, forgiveness, and the power of human compassion.
August 9th, 1945. The Soviet Union declares war on Japan. Within hours, the Red Army smashes through Manchuria, Japan's puppet state in northeast China. The Kwantung Army, once mighty, collapses in days. Japanese settlers, farmers, merchants, families who'd lived here for a decade suddenly realize a terrible truth. The Japanese military is abandoning them. The roads south fill with desperate refugees, hundreds of thousands fleeing toward ports, toward trains, toward anything that might take them back to Japan. But the Soviets are faster. They cut rail lines, block roads, surround entire columns of civilians. In Fangzheng County, chaos becomes catastrophe. 10,000 Japanese trapped. No food, no water. Soviet soldiers demanding surrender. And winter is coming. Mothers face impossible choices. Keep your children and watch them starve, or abandon them and pray someone shows mercy. Japanese women walk through Chinese villages, begging strangers to take their babies. Most are refused. These are the children of the invaders, the occupiers, the butchers of Nanking. Why should any Chinese family show them kindness? But some do. A 19-year-old Chinese man finds a Japanese woman in the street, too weak to stand, thrusting her infant daughter at him. "Please," she whispers in broken Chinese. "Please." He can't afford to raise a child, but he can't let her die either. He searches for hours until he finds a young Chinese couple willing to take her. The baby is burning with fever, groaning in pain. They take her anyway. Her name will be Xu Lanying. She'll live to be 80, and she'll never forget the Chinese parents who saved her life when her own countrymen left her to die.
The numbers are staggering. 4,000 Japanese children left behind, 90% in Inner Mongolia and northeast China. Infants, toddlers, children too young to even remember Japan. And in an act of collective mercy that defies comprehension, Chinese families, poor farmers, laborers, people who'd suffered 15 years of brutal Japanese occupation, adopt them. Not wealthy families looking for servants, desperately poor rural villagers who could barely feed themselves. Families who'd lost sons and brothers and fathers to Japanese bayonets. Families who had every reason to hate. They take in the enemy's children. They feed them. They give them Chinese names. They raise them as their own.
Soon Yu-ru becomes the daughter of the Sun family. Yowachi Nakajima becomes Liu Tunhua. Keiko Mutsuda forgets she was ever Japanese at all. But the adoptions are dangerous. Anti-Japanese sentiment is everywhere. Chinese who'd suffered under occupation want revenge. Soviet soldiers are still hunting Japanese civilians. So the foster families make a decision. They'll hide the truth. The children will be raised as Chinese. No one outside the family can know. Xu Lanying's foster father tells everyone she's his niece from another province. When neighbors ask about her lighter skin, he says her mother was from the north. When she's old enough to understand, he makes her promise never to tell anyone where she really came from. They'll hurt you, he explains. Not because you did anything wrong, because of who your parents were. It's a secret that will last 50 years. Some of these orphans won't learn their Japanese until they're in their 60s. Lu Guiji's story is even more painful. She's orphaned twice. First, by her Japanese parents during the retreat. Then, at age 6, her Japanese stepfather gives her away to a Chinese couple because she's a burden. Her new Chinese parents treat her like a princess. Even after they have a biological son in 1947, she's still beloved, still protected, still their daughter. These Chinese parents didn't just save lives. They gave love, real love, the kind that crosses the impossible divide between victim and aggressor's child.
The children grow up Chinese. They speak Mandarin, eat with chopsticks, celebrate Lunar New Year. Most have no memory of Japan. They are, for all practical purposes, Chinese kids in rural villages. But the secret haunts them. Whispers follow them through the village. Little Jap. Enemy spawn. Children can be cruel. And these children carry the sins of an empire they never knew. Zhu Lenying is 7 when she first hears the slur. A neighbor's kid calls her Little Jap and shoves her in the dirt. She runs home crying, not even understanding what it means. Her foster father storms out, finds the boy's parents, and makes it clear anyone who hurts his daughter answers to him. He's protecting her from the truth and from the hatred. Liu Guiqi is bullied constantly. Her foster parents do the same thing. They confront every family, every child who torments her. They don't have much, but they have pride. They are their daughter. She will be respected. The Japanese invasion began in 1931. 15 years of occupation. Unit 731's experiments. The rape of Nanking. Villages burned, families slaughtered. The Chinese people of Manchuria have endured atrocities that would justify any hatred. And yet, these foster parents choose differently. They separate the sins of empire from the innocence of children. When their neighbors call for revenge, they stand in the way. When local mobs want to hurt Japanese orphans, they hide them. When the world says these children are enemies, they say these children are ours. It's not just protection. It's fierce, unconditional love. Many of these Chinese families choose not to have biological children so they can provide better for their Japanese adopted ones. They give everything, food, clothes, education, futures, to the children of the nation that destroyed their lives. In 1960, during the Great Famine, when millions of Chinese are starving, these families still share their meager rations with their Japanese children. They go hungry so their adopted kids can eat. The bond is real, the love is real. Biology means nothing. 1981. China and Japan established diplomatic ties. For the first time since the war, there's a path for the orphans to go home. But home is complicated. Most of these orphans are now in their 40s and 50s. They've lived in China for 35 years. They have Chinese spouses, Chinese children, Chinese identities. Japan is a foreign country to them. Still, the Japanese government starts a repatriation program. Japan experienced an economic miracle. It's wealthy, modern, prosperous. China is still recovering from the Cultural Revolution. For many orphans, it's a chance at a better life. The Chinese foster parents face impossible heartbreak. They've raised these children for decades. They're not orphans anymore, they're sons and daughters. But they encourage them to go. Japan has opportunities we can't give you, they say. You should see your homeland. Lu Guizi, now Kika Matsuda, returns to Japan in 1990. She finds her biological relatives in Saitama Prefecture. They're polite, but distant. She doesn't speak Japanese well. She eats with chopsticks differently. She bows wrong. She's Japanese by blood, but Chinese by culture. Japanese society doesn't know what to do with them. These orphans are reminders of a war Japan would rather forget. They're treated as outsiders. Chinese in Japan, Japanese in China. Belonging nowhere. Many return to China within years. The land that adopted them is still home. Their Chinese families welcome them back with open arms. No judgment, no resentment, just love. By 2021, Japan has officially recognized 2,818 war orphans. Of those, 2,557 returned to Japan, but 260 chose to stay in China permanently, and many who left came back. Yohachi Nakajima, the starving 3-year-old rescued by son, returns to China frequently. Japan was an invader, he tells reporters. It must have been pure humanity that convinced them to adopt and raise me, a child of the aggressor. In 1995, an orphan builds a monument in Fangzheng County. It's dedicated to the Chinese foster parents. The inscription reads, "To those who showed mercy when the world demanded vengeance."
Today, Fangzheng County has street signs in both Chinese and Japanese. It's a quiet reminder of an impossible chapter in history. Xu Lanying and Sun Yuru are among the last living war orphans still in Fangzheng. They're in their 80s now. When interviewed, they speak about their Chinese parents with reverence. "They gave me life twice," Xu says. "Once when they found me, once when they loved me." This story challenges everything we think we know about war, enemies, and hatred. These Chinese families had every justification for revenge. Japanese occupation killed millions. Unit 731 conducted biological experiments on Chinese civilians. The rape of Nanking slaughtered 300,000. Entire villages were burned, entire families wiped out. And when Japanese children were left helpless and starving, Chinese families fed them, clothed them, raised them, loved them. Not because the children were innocent, though they were, not because forgiveness came easy, it didn't, because these Chinese foster parents understood something that transcended propaganda, nationality, and war itself. A child is a child. Hunger doesn't care about flags. Pain doesn't care about empires. And humanity, real humanity, means protecting the helpless even when they belong to your enemy. Some of these orphans still live in China. Some returned to Japan. Some moved back to China. They exist between two worlds, carrying two cultures, loved by both. Their existence is a monument to an impossible truth, that in the worst moments of history, ordinary people are capable of extraordinary grace, that victims can choose mercy, that enemies can become family, that love, real love, is stronger than any uniform, any flag, any war. The Chinese foster parents are mostly gone now. They lived simple lives. Farmers, laborers, people whose names don't appear in history books. But they rewrote what was possible. They proved that humanity doesn't end when the bombs fall. It begins when someone picks up a starving child and says, "Not on my watch." 4,000 children saved.
4,000 lives given meaning. 4,000 reasons to believe that even in our darkest hours, we are capable of light. The Japanese Empire told its people they were superior, destined to rule. The Chinese people who adopted Japanese orphans told a different story. We are all human first. And that's the only story that matters.